Welcome to Grid Live pre-race, a full busy weekend of racing here, and a special hello to our Ultimate Sports Radio Network listeners, USRN. With me, we have Adam Lemeries, Daniel Zeri from Racers, the girls behind the helmet, Joshua Burt, and Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. We will do MotoGP, NASCAR, Formula One, but we'll first start with Kobe and the exciting W Series finale, the battle for the championship, and eighth place.
I will say, Joe, it's kind of strange seeing W Series and Formula One on this side of the world for once, but I'm not complaining at all. In Circuit of the Americas this weekend is a side of a super weekend of racing with Formula One and a W Series doubleheader season finale later today and tomorrow. Yesterday, Jamie Chadwick ended a shortened practice session on top, and tied with Chadwick for the championship points lead. Alice Powell came in fifth place, and starting with you, Daniel and Josh. Is Jamie Chadwick the heavy favorite? Are people really underestimating Alice Powell in this championship fight?
Well, I think nobody can really underestimate Alice Powell. Yesterday, she had engine issues, so she sit out most of the first three practice session, and then the problems carried on to the second session as well. So we haven't seen the best of Alice yet. Jamie, of course, started very, very well her weekend. She looks a strong contender to defend the title, and I think yes, she is a little bit ahead so far from what we've seen. But also there are some really, really good drivers right behind her. First of all, Big Pulling, who was the closest one in both the sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming into this weekend, as we know, three drivers can win the title. But I think, yeah, too much pressure, definitely. Jamie Chadwick, definitely the winner from 2019. We know how quick she is. We know how quick she's been so far this season. But my definite money going into it, I would go Alice Powell is definitely got one hand of the trophy. I just look at that. They are level on points. Two superb British female drivers. And speaking from this side of the pond as well, it's fantastic watching them as well. They've been great ambassadors over the past 24 months as well, since we knew they were going to be in the championship. Emma Kamalainen, though, had a spin early on in the practice session as well. She's very much the outsider, but we've seen stranger things happen. Remember Formula One, 1986. Alain Prost was the unlikely winner of the title. And it all went down to the last race. Anything can happen. And here, stateside, we've seen championships decided before. And definitely there's an added pressure with it being a double header. You make a mistake in qualifying today, it affects you on Sunday as well. But you make a mistake in race one, you have an accident. It's going to affect your position in race two as well. There's a lot of tension in the air as well. There's a lot of pressure. And definitely that's not just speaking about how hot it is over in Austin, Texas right now.
Yes, in the track this weekend, racing at COTA. This track can pose quite a challenge for all of the drivers with the elevation changes and demanding turns all over the racetrack. We've seen how the slipstream is not that powerful with these cars. COTA has that long back straightaway and some great opportunities for overtaking. Could we anticipate a lot more action this weekend compared to Silverstone, where the slipstream is a bigger factor?
Absolutely. Silverstone is a type of circuit where it's very flat, as I talked about a couple of weeks ago when we were discussing what tracks are going to favour the two drivers. Silverstone's a very flat surface. It was a former RAF airbase as well. There's a lot of straights to slipstream on as well. Here at COTA, you've got immediately the elevation changed different because it's 30.4 meters on the run up towards turn number one. So immediately from the start, you're climbing uphill and then it twists and turns over quite a lot of bumps that we saw the MotoGP lot dealing with as well, and having all sorts of issues in the first sector. Then you get on the long back straightaway as well between turn 11 and turn 12 where you reach maximum top speed as well. That's really an overtaking position. Ideally, the overtaking spots on this track turns 1, turns 11, turns 12, and turn 20 as well. I think that was proved yesterday with Verstappen and Hamilton, but for the W Series as well, no DRS, long straight, that's really going to be our only overtaking opportunity. I'm interested to see race one later on tonight as well for us here in the UK, because I want to see exactly what cars without DRS can do around this track, because we've never seen it before. During the calendar in 2012, it's always had DRS.
Good point. Yes, I'll have to agree with Josh as well. He talked about the difference in the circuits compared to Silverstone, for example, being a flat circuit. There are of course, some similarities in the first sector with the fast S's, where it's really important to have a good rhythm. But COTA seems a little bit wider of a track. So I think also we have to consider that I think only 2 drivers on the grid previously drove on the Austin racetrack. As far as I know, only Sabre Cook raced previously there in the US Formula 4 Championship in 2018. While Ayla Agren, who of course is Norwegian, but she has been living in Texas. She lives in Houston for a couple of years now. She has not raced, but she has driven previously on COTA track. So we also have to take this into consideration. I think the drivers really had only 2 sessions yesterday to learn the track. Of course, they did extensive simulator work during the 7-week break that W Series had after the Zandvoort race. But still, yesterday was the first time they had the real thing. So I think still they have the opportunity to learn a little bit. So some had a couple of issues. We had a chat with Caitlin Wood yesterday, for example, and she had brake issues. So still they are trying to get up to speed, and probably this is something also to consider. Also, catching up on the Kymmelainen topic, she had to. We knew that she has a really good relationship with her engineer. She was really working well with Danny. He has become a little bit famous for the karaoke thing that they had at Zandvoort. And Danny is not Emma's engineer this weekend because he is working in the season finale of the European Le Mans Series. So she has a new engineer, and so far what we've seen is that she is struggling a little bit to find a new setup. So that might play also a part.
And qualifying starting 1 hour away with the speed Jamie Chadwick shows, she's definitely an easy favorite for pole position. Alice Powell looking to get a little bit more speed to get up there with her. Everybody else racing to stay in the top 8. And taking a look at the top 8, Belen Garcia only has 22 points. So if American driver Sabre Cook was to win this weekend, and Belen Garcia scored no points, she could contend for the top 8, and only the top 8 drivers are going to be locked into the 2022 season. And nobody except the top 2 are safe. And it really feels like we're talking about NASCAR playoffs here with all of the points situations. So here's my question. How competitive will it be to get into the top 8? And which drivers do you see being a contender for scoring a pair of podiums on this doubleheader season finale race weekend?
Oh, I hope I'm still on. I've just changed over cameras, and there we go. Just a little bit of a lag. Thanks, British Touring Cars. To answer your question, yeah, it very much is like a NASCAR playoff, isn't it, for the top 8 as well? And I'm enjoying it so much watching the battle because the top 8 locked in for the 2022. Looking at it, Fabian Volveren definitely going to be one. She's been mega quick all season long. Surprised she hasn't been further up towards the top 3. That's been Emma Kymmelainen and has sort of just grasped onto it. The 2 Garcias, as you were mentioning, on the push as well. I think looking at it, Abby Eaton is definitely a driver who could get up there. Beitske Visser as well. Why is she so far down? Miki Koyama as well. Also driver I could see up there, but I'm going to go for the drivers to complete that top 8 and really change it around. I'll go Abby Eaton as well and Beitske Visser. They're my 2 who are going to really progress over the next 2 races as well. And usually it's a race per weekend. We've got 2 this weekend, so it's a lot more pressure and a lot more work to bookend your seat for 2022 without having to go through that annoying driver testing program once again, which I see the point of, but really, it's not that much needed. Leave the teams to sign up their own drivers. Now that we've got this team format in, get the best drivers in that can prove to do the job, because we've seen some of them come in this season that were chosen and they haven't delivered at all.
Yeah, good point. I think Abby Pulling is also one of the drivers that we really have to keep an eye on, because she was the closest one to Jamie yesterday. And she has to get that seat, because she also had to halt her season, her Formula 4 in British Formula 4 this year. due to a lack of funding. So she really has to break into the top 8 to secure a racing program for next year. And from what we've seen from Abby this far, she can do that. She was in the points in her previous 2 appearances in W Series, and she definitely seems to be able to get a podium, at least one podium in COTA. Bicycle, as you said, Josh, really is again on top of her game. She also mentioned that she was not in pain while driving after, of course, the accident in Spa-Francorchamps qualifying. The brake definitely helped her a little bit with that. Abby Eaton, as you said, can try to get into the top 8. It's going to be really, really tight. Every driver around the 7th, 8th, 9th. Of course, we know that Sidorkova, who is not racing in COTA, she will have a seat for next year because Sidorkova and Nerea Marti are already secured for next year. But probably she will drop out of the top 8 because she's not scoring points in 2 races. So probably will open one more position to another driver that will get on the grid for 2022.
Yeah, it's really bizarre to see that Sidorkova isn't racing this weekend because she got denied her visa, despite the fact that Nikita Mazepin got in, and he is a Russian who had to go through the same process as her. So I don't understand the mentality there. Overall, I've heard that it could be the fact that he drives for an American team, Nikita Mazepin, and that sort of helped clinch the deal, whereas Ira Sidorkova suddenly doesn't. Megan always has a go at me. I get her name wrong. But yeah, I'm very disappointed that she's not racing this weekend because she's been developing really, really well this season as well. And she's been up there fighting with some great overtaking moves. I remember Spa, she was quite good in that 15 minutes we had there out of 30. Sad that she's not racing. But yeah, Abby Pulling as well. Another great driver who came into the championship as the reserve driver, and she was second, correct me if I'm wrong, in the standings I saw in practice 1 yesterday, I think. So immediately she's on the ball this weekend. And yeah, great to see that Bicycle okay after that horrible shunt. Definitely, I think, was the moment of the season that everyone really started paying attention to the W Series and the F1 community, because it was like, that was a massive accident, the scariest accident we've seen of the season across any category of motorsport as well. And it was just a miracle that they all walked away alive.
Yes, definitely. So go ahead, Daniel.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree with Josh. And Abby was second in both practice sessions. So and the closest one with Jamie Chadwick at less than a tenth. So I definitely think that she's going to be a contender.
Game on.
Yeah, definitely game on for the championship this weekend. And in response to Sidorkova's having her visa denied, I'll let you guys know this. Our visa system here in the United States, it is absolutely broken. I have no idea what's going on there. I know when COVID hit, the process slowed down significantly, and it really seems like the process isn't back where it used to be. So, like you were saying, I have no idea how Nikita Mazepin got in, but she didn't. Really unfortunate. She was having a solid season before that, and maybe she'll return to W Series next year and continue that progress without any issues with her visa. And remind you, at the top of the hour, W Series qualifying at Circuit of the Americas, race 1 later today, and tomorrow race 2, the final race of the 2021 W Series season. And Daniel, we all know you have to go soon to get ready for qualifying, and before you go, want to know what your pick a winner. Who are your 2 picks to win race 1 today and race 2 tomorrow in the W Series?
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? I think well, Jamie Chadwick has to be one of the the favorites because of the speed that she showed yesterday. But I'm gonna say Abby Pulling to be fair, because she is game on, as you said, Josh, and she really needs that seat to secure a racing program next year. And she's angry. I think she can win this race.
Thank you for your pick, Daniel, and we'll definitely let you go now. Get ready for W Series content today, and next we're gonna be moving over to Joe talking about the Formula One U.S. Grand Prix. Really glad to see Formula One back here racing in the United States of America.
Very excited to see Formula One here in the United States for the first time this year, and the first time since 2019. Of course, we didn't have Formula One last year. A lot of attention this year. Formula One drivers sporting special helmets. Very exciting, including Daniel Ricciardo's tribute to Dale Earnhardt Sr. And we all know he's been promised to drive a Cup Series car, so we're very excited to see when that happens. And the NBA, they are involved. We got an electric atmosphere. I mean, huge crowds Friday. Another anticipated big crowd turnout today on a Saturday. And it's just, there's a kind of energy buzz I feel like that comes around with the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500. Adam, you've been here in the United States watching motorsports for such a long time. How great is it to see this kind of excitement around Formula One this year, and especially with the year we have Max versus Lewis at this high level?
Oh, it's incredible, Joe. You think about you're talking about the NBA. It's another global brand. You had Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly attending the home opener for the NBA World Champion Milwaukee Bucks a few nights ago. You had Mick Schumacher at the NASCAR Cup Series race at Texas last weekend. This buzz around Formula One being here in the United States is crazy. It's awesome. It's incredible. And in this championship between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, you can't get any better. I mean, you even have Danica Patrick as part of the Sky F1 broadcast team this weekend. A well-known racer who's competed in Indy cars. She's won at the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. So game on in the Lone Star State, because the barbecue there's really good eating down there, and the atmosphere is just electric. Game on tomorrow and all around qualifying later today.
All I've got in my head now is Ricky Bobby. Shake and bake, shake and bake.
Love it, Josh. Love it, brother.
It is exciting. And of course, Austin, Texas, for folks that haven't been to Austin, Texas, it is a very unique city, a lot going on, just like the city of Portland. So great area to get people. And Circuit America, not far from Austin, so not too big of a drive. Qualifying, of course, that's later today. We're so used to showing you the starting lineup. We don't have a starting lineup to show you today, but we could definitely talk about free practice 1 and 2. And free practice 1, Valtteri Bottas, fastest. We then saw essentially Hamilton and Verstappen behind him, the usual suspect, but then free practice 2, Sergio Perez. Of course, Texas, just north of Mexico, his home country, so we anticipate a huge crowd for Sergio Perez to show up. Lando Norris, very popular McLaren, a very popular team, and of course with McLaren's presence in IndyCar, probably more fans showing up supporting Norris. Lewis Hamilton, and then all the way in 8th place, Max Verstappen, controversy over him and Hamilton about ruining his hot lap yesterday. Starting with you, Josh, when it comes to this race, is there a clear favorite for the pole later today between the top runners?
It's quite a difficult one, because after the very action-packed 2 practice sessions you've already seen, I mean, I went off here yesterday and I was speaking to Megan and said, across FP1 and FP2, that's the most exciting one I think we've seen all year, because it was just non-stop action, because the track is bumpy. We haven't been here in 24 months. Everyone was straight out there getting all the action running. And it's caught a few drivers out as well. It caught Max Verstappen out. He could not get a clear run in either of the 2 sessions as well. He ended down in 8th place, as you said, in FP2. But my pick for pole position is actually going to be Sergio Perez. Now, I know what you're going to say, but Lewis Hamilton, well, surely he'll get pole because Bottas has got his 5-place grid penalty to serve. Don't think that's the case, because Lewis has always been quicker in the race here than he has been in qualifying. He's won here 5 times, won in the USA 6 times because he won one at Indianapolis in 2007. But a 5-time winner at this circuit and only a 3-time pole sitter. It makes sense. He's not a quick qualifier here. So my anticipation is going to be that Sergio Perez could get his first ever pole position today. And it'll be Bottas who will get P2 and then have to start P6 or 7 on the grid. Throw in Hamilton and Verstappen on the second row of the grid. It's going to be very exciting. Watch out for Lando Norris as well. He's going to be up there. But yeah, my pick for pole, Sergio Perez. He kept his head down and he was quick in both of the practice sessions as well, with doing some long run paces that helped him out.
Yeah, that's a really good pick, Josh. I've got to say, I have to agree with you. You were mentioning, Joe, that, there's probably going to be a lot of Mexican fans in the stands this weekend because of Sergio Perez. And McLaren, everything that they did this year in IndyCar, probably going to be a lot of McLaren fans on site. But, I believe Lewis Hamilton will have a good shot to at least start in the top 5, and Max Verstappen, we'll see what he can do in qualifying. I believe he'll also start in the top 5, easily in the top 10, and game on tomorrow. If everything happens the way that we think it's going to happen, this could go down as one of the greatest Formula One races here in the United States in history. And we all know, there's been so many good races here in the States in the past.
I'll add on to that just quick. Sorry, Joe. I'll add on to that. I reckon you're right there, Adam. I completely agree with you. This race is shaping up to be the greatest United States Grand Prix we have ever seen. Formula One got damaged in the USA after 2005 and Indianapolis and the Tiregate fiasco with Michelin.
Sure did.
But the popularity I've seen this weekend as well, watching from the monitors as well and seeing all the fans react, it's unbelievable. And we've got one thing to agree to that. 1, ESPN showing all the races uninterrupted for the first time in US history. 2, the fact that Drive to Survive has really brought the fans from America in. Whatever your thoughts on it, it's really helped. So I've got this feeling that the fans being here, 120,000 of them every day on Friday, Saturday, 120,000, 140,000 on the Sunday, and going in there as well, we are going to see the greatest United States Grand Prix ever, because it's got the closest title fight ever, the closest situation for racing ever. And everything is just shaping up to be brilliant. So I do agree with you there. If you're not going to watch this Grand Prix and you think, oh, I'll tape it and watch it later, don't. Watch it live. You'll be watching history. And also, me and Adam are going to have a lot of fun in FP3 talking all the way about this one later on.
Oh, yes, we will. We sure will, Josh. Bring it on, man. Bring it on.
And one of the things that was mentioned, I think that's making this track even more exciting. Formula One, we've seen when they go to Turkey, Portimao, other tracks, they repave the circuit, make it brand new, smooth. I don't know if it's just something here, but we know COTA is very bumpy. It was big issues for MotoGP. But when it comes to like NASCAR, all these tracks in the United States, a bumpy track gives a character. Cars not getting the best traction. So I feel like while it was a big issue for MotoGP, I think this aging surface making an issue for the drivers, but it just means they're going to have to work harder. Great choices when it comes to Sergio Perez getting that pole. I got to say, I think Sergio Perez will be a huge story if he gets the pole. I still think maybe Verstappen, just maybe. Hamilton, great points about him not being the best qualifier, but I do see potentially a Verstappen-Hamilton front row. Now, the weather at Circus of America is not going to be too much of an issue. We know a couple times we've had rain during qualifying. We know the last time Circus of America hosted a major motorsport event, NASCAR Cup Series, torrential rain, downpour. Even on those wet tires and the windshield wipers, still a lot of battles, but that's not going to be the case. We're going to have some sun, some cloud cover as well too. And Lewis Hamilton, he has the most wins. But the big thing is, when it comes to Lewis Hamilton, this weekend, he can't have any issues. He is 6 points behind. He already got that grid penalty the last time. The idea being he's stronger at this track, comes in here, and he needs to show he is really strong. Because here's the thing: if Lewis was to win, he'll only take Max Verstappen by 1 point, assuming Max was to finish second place. 2 if he gets the fastest lap. And of course, if Max takes the fastest lap, then guess what? They're going to be tied, and they'll be entering Mexico. And that is very significant because Mexico, that is a track Red Bull is really strong at. When it comes to this race and thinking about the following weekend, starting with you, Adam, is the pressure more on Mercedes and Hamilton to get the win, knowing that Red Bull has a strong track the next race weekend?
Oh, yeah. You just mentioned the point scenario, Joe. Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes needs to win this race because when F1 goes to Mexico, I believe it'll be Max Verstappen and Red Bull taking that, going there and winning. You said Lewis Hamilton has been really strong here at COTA, winning. So Lewis Hamilton needs to stay focused, not make any mistakes whatsoever, have a really strong qualifying, and just go out there, run a safe, clean race, and hopefully Max Verstappen has some sort of trouble, and otherwise we don't know what's going to happen. Probably Lewis Hamilton has to win tomorrow. Otherwise, next weekend we go to Mexico City, and it could be game over for Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes.
Completely agree with you. I think this race, another reason I said it earlier on, is going to be one of the greatest we've ever seen. It's make or break for this championship. It really is. 6 points between them, 6 races to go. And we're at a track where Lewis Hamilton is, well, he's like Marc Marquez. He's the king of COTA for Formula One. And we definitely need to see Lewis take victory here. Ideally with Verstappen in second place as well, just to keep that title fight close between them. I think you said it, Joe. If Hamilton wins and Verstappen is second, he'll take the lead by 1 point in the championship. But if he gets the fast lap, it'll become 2. Every point matters coming into the last 5 races after America. As you say, I agree with you, Adam. Mexico definitely is a Verstappen track. He's won there twice in a row as well. Maybe even 3 times in a row. It's been quite a long time since we've been there, 24 months. But that is a Red Bull circuit. The Mercedes doesn't work well with altitude, 2,000 meters above sea level. The Red Bull works better because of the way Adrian Newey and his strange alien brain put the engine together. It works better at higher altitude. Then we go into the unusual races. Brazil is a toss of a coin between if it's going to be Hamilton or Verstappen. They've both won there as well. Both have good feeling with a track. Verstappen should have won in 18, got hit off by Esteban Ocon in the Racing Point. And then, of course, he won in 2019 in that dominant race that we all love. Lewis Hamilton hasn't won this, I don't think, since 2016 in that rain-affected race. So it's going to be playing on his mind as well. So I would say maybe Brazil is a Verstappen circuit. Then we go into Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Qatar, I know it from MotoGP. It's a tight, twisty circuit. That's going to be Mercedes as well. They're quick if they get out front in the corners. But it could be Red Bull if they qualify on pole position. Mercedes are going to find it hard to overtake. Saudi Arabia, anybody's guess, so 50-50. But we know Abu Dhabi, that's another one, just like we had in Brazil. They've both won there, but history sides with Mercedes over Red Bull as well for that battle. So this is how key the championship is. Anybody can win at any round, and it keeps fluctuating from week to week as well, depending who's got the strongest car. Mercedes have got to pick up this weekend, and they have got to win this race, and it needs to be Lewis Hamilton. People are going to be saying if Bottas somehow gets the lead ahead of Hamilton, maybe he shouldn't move over. No. Bottas has won his one race now. He said goodbye to the team. He won Turkey dominantly. This is now team games. I think I read somewhere this is like an FA Cup final and a World Cup final as well. And to put it in there, it's like we're in the last few matches of the baseball season as well. It's all go down. we're all getting ready for the Super Bowl at the end of the year, and we just are all like this, crossing our hands. We're all tensing up and seizing up because we know it's so close. And at the end of the year, everyone's just going to explode with either emotion or, we're definitely with emotion, but it's going to be joy or upset. Personally, standing up in the commentary box, I'm going to shout just as loud for whoever gets the victory of the championship because they deserve it the most. But I'm definitely looking forward to every time those lights go out. There's a David Guetta song as well, isn't it? That he did back in 2014. Don't know where the lights are taking us, but baby, this is getting serious.
Game on the rest of the season. Let's rock and roll.
It is very serious, and especially with Lewis Hamilton, as we've been talking about, how many times he missed opportunities when Max Verstappen, Baku, was out of the race. Magic cost him the win. Hungary, Verstappen got in that first lap crash, but then the rain and the team not pitting. So many times when Verstappen hasn't gotten a win, Hamilton has missed the opportunity. If Verstappen's not contending for the win, Hamilton, they have to go for the win. They cannot miss this opportunity because Mexico, that's going to be all Red Bull, I feel, as well.
If you take Hamilton also had to create his own opportunity and took Verstappen off at Silverstone as well to capitalise on the bad luck he had in Austria, where Verstappen got a double victory.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So, United States Grand Prix. This year is the only race in the United States, but of course next year, Miami Grand Prix. And I can only imagine if we have a really good race and if the chance Lewis and Max Verstappen leave this event tied in the points, you're going to see those Miami Grand Prix tickets go quickly. And tomorrow we'll find out who will win this thrilling race in Austin. And of course, we got more racing to discuss, especially with Formula One too. And in fact, if you tuned in to Grid Tonight last Wednesday, you saw Kobe and Adam talked about a story regarding Formula One and the upcoming driver. So Kobe, can you tell us on the latest update since Wednesday's Grid Tonight program?
Yes, after the big news broke yesterday, I really wanted to follow up on a story we talked about. On Wednesday's episode of Grid Tonight, Adam and I discussed Logan Sargent's upcoming IndyCar test at Barber Motorsports Hard, with a young American appearing to put his Formula One dreams on the back burner for now. However, in just a couple of days, a lot has changed. IndyCar test is not happening now. It's off the table because Logan Sargent, the young American, signed a contract with Williams to become one of their development drivers, joining the Williams Young Driver Academy. It's a long-term deal, and maybe this is going to put Logan Sargent in a position to race in Formula 2 next year. Previously, and if you watch Grid Tonight on Wednesday, we talked about how Logan has struggled for fun and how he wanted to move up to Formula 2 this year with his Formula 3 title rival last year, Oscar Piastri and Taylor Pourchaire, who are doing a wonderful job. And a lot of people thought Logan Sargent would move up with them to race in Formula 2 this year, but unfortunately, funding put down the back burner, had to go to a lesser competitive team this year, back in Formula 3, 7th in the championship for Logan Sargent. And he was talking about next year as well. Formula 2 was unlikely because he was having trouble raising a budget. He even did a few sports car races this year. Maybe a future in sports car racing, he thought, and it looked like he was going to be in IndyCar next year potentially, until this deal came up at the very last minute, and alongside a potential deal to race in Formula 2 next year as a Williams development driver, maybe he'll get some seat time next year in free practice behind the wheels of the Williams Formula 1 car. So Josh and Adam, are you surprised how quickly this story changed? Because Logan Sargent's Formula 1 host in midweek, it went from hopeless to hopeful in just a matter of days.
I would say it's pretty normal for Formula One from my experience as well, because it's pretty from Formula One standpoint, especially from Williams as well. They've done this before, where they string drivers along and say, "We might sign you, and then they don't. I mean, I remember Jenson Button; he had a contract with BMW Williams back in the early 2000s as well. They let him go after a season, and they tried to get him back in 2004, but their contract expired on it as well, and that's because they held him on a leash, and that's what they sort of been doing ever since. Any driver they get hold of, they hold them onto as well. George Russell, an example. Mercedes leased him out there. They tried to keep him for as long as possible. Jack Aitken, another example as well. They drag him along for a while and then just kick him out to the curb in the end. and don't give him an F2 seat for this season. So I'm very surprised in one respect that Logan Sargent's back and going to Formula 2, because why couldn't they have done that for Aitken? Now they could do it for Logan Sargent to run an F2 campaign. F3 much cheaper next year, now that it's back on the same price cap as Formula 2. Going on to it as well, in terms for Logan Sargent personally, definitely a big shocker, because he's gone from thinking, okay, I've got to go back to America. I've got to run an IndyCar next year. I've got to learn how to drive a much more powerful machine than I've been used to for the past 24 months. It's no power steering as well, so I'm okay there. Formula 3 doesn't have it, but it's the quicker speeds. Got to build your reaction times up. So he's been keying his mind to that and for the test. And if it not to happen in the space of a couple of days, as you said, Kobe, and now facing either a season in Formula 3 or having his hopes put up there that you're going to get a seat in Formula 2 for the next season, which I think could happen. To be signed by Williams, I think it just makes sense, because Williams owned half owners of the Durilio media group, isn't it? So they're half American now, Williams as well. They view it as their second race, they've been saying. And I think it only makes sense that the American owners want to try and get an American driver in their car. Ideally, from what I've been hearing, they want a British driver and an American driver at Williams. They've got it half with Alex Albon at the moment, because he is a British driver but racing under a Thai license as well, because his mother is of Thailand descent as well. His father, I think, was British. So they want a British driver and American driver to regroup the team and push it back up together. The last time that happened didn't really work out, did it? Just ask Will Stevens and Alexander Rossi at Manor.
Yeah, when Kobe and I discussed this on Wednesday's Good Tonight, I'm really happy to see Logan Sargent, getting this achievement. Last time an American competed in F1 was Scott Speed, and before that, it was Michael Andretti in 1993 at McLaren, and we all know what happened to him. Only ran half a year. Like you said, Joe, earlier on, the crowds at COTA this weekend have been awesome, fabulous. And if Logan Sargent one day gets into Formula One, you want to talk about ratings? The ratings could go absolutely through the roof. And who knows? Maybe Williams will get back to where they once were back in the day, where they had people like Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill. Overall, I'm really happy for Logan Sargent. I wish him nothing but the success as a Williams at Williams, and hopefully we'll see him compete in Formula one day. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yes, it really caught me off guard how quickly this changed. Because Adam, Wednesday night we're talking about how Logan Sargent can have a great career in IndyCar, and all of a sudden it's off the table. I remember we reported this Wednesday night, down Thursday. Then we're learning that the test is off, and I'm wondering what on earth happened. And then Friday we learned that he signed with Williams, and it really surprised me that it's a long-term deal. And it really shows me that Williams is committed to this young driver. A lot of people have been really high on him. All the sacrifice Logan has made, moving from the United States to Europe, leaving everything behind to try to pursue a career in Formula One. And I've been saying it since his superb performance at the Macau Grand Prix, the last time we had a proper race in Macau, that Logan Sargent is going to be a feature star in auto racing, whether it's on this side of the Atlantic in IndyCar or on the other side in Formula One. And I know a lot of people have been talking about the Andretti Alfa Romeo Colton Herta rumors. Colton Herta being the next American driver going to Formula One. I think that would be really cool for the sport of auto racing. But don't forget Logan Sargent. I think he's definitely ready for the moment. And if it goes to Formula 2 next year, I think Williams will get him in a really good seat so he can really show what he can truly do. And for an American to be on the Formula One grid, whether it's Logan Sargent or Colton Herta, I think the future for Formula One and America and just globally in general is extremely bright. And next, moving on to the NASCAR Cup Series, Kansas Speedway this weekend. It's the second race in the round of 8. for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Kyle Larson locked into Championship 4 after such a dominant performance last weekend at Texas Motor Speedway in the Lone Star State. Still, we have 7 super fast playoff drivers trying to punch their ticket to Phoenix, but we have had a couple of non-playoff drivers making some noise recently. And those 2 drivers, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, getting into each other lately, really fighting those playoff drivers hard, definitely not going away quietly. And once again, this opens the floor for discussion about how hard do you race a playoff driver as a non-playoff driver this weekend in the heartland state of Kansas. Do you anticipate drivers like William Byron and Tyler Reddick contending for the win, or will we see only the playoff drivers up front?
That's a very good question, Kobe. And I'm going to have to say, I believe we will see the playoff drivers contending for the win. Especially last time we raced at Kansas, Kyle did win. It wasn't Larson. No, it was Kyle Busch at Joe Gibbs Racing. So he may have some momentum going in to the race tomorrow. Kyle Larson has, he has been strong all year long. I believe he did pick up a stage win earlier this year when NASCAR visited the Kansas Speedway. So he's got that going for him. But I believe you will see a playoff. I believe you will see someone from the playoffs punch their ticket to Phoenix tomorrow.
I would have to agree with you, Adam. I see a playoff driver winning this race. I could see William Byron up front contending, but Kansas, it is a tricky track that we know where you got to be really on your A game. And I just feel, despite the positive signs we're seeing from William Byron, I just don't feel he could be up there with Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and I wouldn't count out Denny Hamlin. Tyler Reddick, amazing what he's been doing lately in the last few playoff races. But again, I just feel sometimes that Richard Childress racing team, despite the strong showings lately, still we might see at Kansas that disadvantage that Richard Childress has compared to Hendricks, Gibbs. So I think we might see William Byron up towards the front, but I don't see him really contend for a win. I think it's going to be a playoff driver as well.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see a playoff driver win. It would not surprise me to see William Byron and Tyler Reddick contending for a top 10 or a top 5. And I think, although these 2 drivers are out of it right now for the title, I think those 2 teams have to be really excited heading into the next gen era in 2022 because they're really hitting on all cylinders and performing extremely well. And if you're the 24 and the 18, you have to have smiles on your faces knowing if you can finish the year off on a high note like this. Take what you learned at the end of this season and carry the momentum into 2022, and maybe next year we can see Byron and Reddick both make a deep run into the playoffs. And behind Kyle Larson, everyone's going to be scrambling for those stage points. Starting with the top 4, Ryan Blaney 17 points above the cut line, Hamlin 9, Kyle Busch only 8 points above. So it's going to be really tight to see who makes it into that championship 4 and have a shot to go for a title. All 3 of those drivers are more than capable of winning. All of them have multiple wins this year in the NASCAR Cup Series. Adam, starting with you, out of those 3 drivers, which driver has the best chance of winning at Kansas, and who is the long shot?
I'm gonna have to say Kyle. I'm gonna have to go say Kyle Busch is a really good, strong pick. To win tomorrow. Like I just said, last time that NASCAR raced in Kansas, he won the race. Overall, for my long shot, I'm probably gonna have to say Denny Hamlin. But I wouldn't count him out, or even Kyle Larson to win tomorrow. All 3 are strong. All 3 have been strong throughout these playoffs. So Kyle Busch is the overall favorite, but it's hard to pick a long shot.
When it comes to Kyle Busch, I think, especially since he won here, he has to be seen as one of the favorites. And of course, Denny Hamlin, favorite as well. He's been turning it up during the playoffs with the 2 wins opening each round. Didn't get this weekend, but there's a very good chance he could get it this weekend. last weekend he didn't get it done, but this weekend he can, I think, get it done. Blaney, if he comes out with a fast car and a strong car, he has a shot. But just the way that team doesn't show the consistency, Texas, there seemed to be a lot of talk like this is Blaney's race to win. He didn't get that win. I'm concerned maybe they're going to start looking at, okay, let's just try to get all the points we can in the stages, but then they won't put themselves in a great situation for a race end. So I think Blaney would be my long shot.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Joe. Yeah, but yeah, and the driver I think who has the best chance of winning this weekend, I think is the driver to number 11, Denny Hamlin. Kyle Larson, we've been saying time and time again in this program, he's definitely the favorite to win this championship. But Denny Hamlin also a very deserving champion. I think Larson won last week at Texas, Hamlin win this week at Kansas. So we'll ensure that the two best drivers of the 2021 season are gonna go to Phoenix with a shot to win the championship. I also think Blaney is the long shot. We talked about this last Saturday as well, how Blaney has been inconsistent throughout his career. How some one weekend they'll show up and they'll have speed, and the other weekend they'll look completely lost and completely miss the setup. And I'm not sure what we're going to see from the 12 team this weekend. Are we going to see a performance like we saw last week at Texas, where he was able to get a lot of stage points, or are we going to see them completely miss the setup? It's going to be really interesting to see which version of the number 12 team shows up at Kansas Speedway. And now looking at the bottom four and the top eight, all of them have wins, but different stories. Starting with Chase Elliott, only two wins, both on road courses. Hasn't won on an oval track this year. Brad Keselowski, one win at the crazy Talladega Super Speedway, who's leaving Team Penske at season's end. Martin Truex Jr. has 4 wins, but inconsistent performances and bad luck have plagued him. Joey Logano, like Keselowski, only 1 win this year at the Bristol Dirt Track. Are you surprised by some of the names who are currently below the cut line?
When it comes to some of the names below the cut line, I feel when it comes to Truex, Keselowski, I'm not surprised. Truex, despite having a good number of wins this year, when it comes to the Gibbs vehicles, I feel he is third behind Kyle Busch and then Denny Hamlin. Keselowski, I think a lot of folks are surprised he's still in this far because a lot of folks anticipated he will be out in the first round. And then just really interesting considering how Chase Elliott only road course wins. I think it shows now that we're in the round of 8 that, hey, he needs to start turning up the performance in the O's. We're at a mile and a half. We know Hendricks is strong here. This is a great opportunity for him. And then Logano, just that tough luck being in this position. I think a lot of folks anticipate him to be 4th or 5th. So overall, I would say probably Logano will be the closest to my surprise. Chase Elliott, he's been good, but we just know he hasn't won the road courses yet. And then for Truex, Keselowski, I'm not too surprised that they're below the cut line.
For me, I'm surprised that Chase Elliott is in the bottom 4. He is the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion, and he wants to go to Phoenix and repeat that. Martin Truex, Brad Keselowski has had a really strong year this year, and I'm not surprised that he is in the bottom 4. Martin Truex Jr., I'm not surprised. No, I am surprised that he's in 7th. Another strong driver, and I have to agree with you, Joe. I believe he is number 3 at Joe Gibbs Racing, behind Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. And Joey Logano really hasn't done a lot this year, and I'm still surprised he's in the round of 8. So for me, my surprise has to be Chase Elliott. I believe he wants to go out and win either tomorrow at Kansas or next Sunday at Martinsville.
Yeah. Right now, we'll get back to NASCAR in a second. Well, I mean, it's NASCAR related, but right now, as we're on the air, Daniel Ricciardo is currently driving Zach Brown's iconic Dale Earnhardt NASCAR stock car. So, really cool moment. So, if you have Twitter right now, definitely check out some of the videos on social media that are currently circulating. Really exciting time for Daniel Ricciardo winning the Italian Grand Prix. He got that special reward. Really cool to see Ricciardo in that number 3 Earnhardt. car going around Circuit of the Americas. And going back to what we were just talking about, I can't necessarily say that I'm shocked by any of the names below. It's the playoffs. We're gonna see really crazy things. I think the only thing that I'm shocked by the troubles by Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. last weekend at Texas, and Joey Logano over 40 points out right now. I think he's definitely in a must-win situation this weekend at Kansas at Martinsville. Probably the same for Martin Truex Jr. as well. Understand scoring stage points these next 2 weeks are going to be really important. So those drivers aren't necessarily out of it points wise, but definitely for Joey Logano, if I'm him, I'm going to try to go out there, try to win the race. Probably not focus on stage points as much as Martin Truex Jr. because if Martin Truex Jr. Is able to win stage 1 and stage 2 at Kansas or at Martinsville, he can definitely put himself back up there to potentially make it on points. But for Logano, definitely going to be an uphill battle. Last year, Kansas Speedway saw some intense action, but at the end, Kevin Harvick unable to get around Joe Logano. Logano won the race, and many saw it as the major flaw. We always talk about when we have this aero package, 550 horsepower, high downforce, and last weekend in Texas, we saw the same thing. And with this certain package, restarts everything. You have to jockey for position, get where you can get, because when you get spread out, it becomes really hard to pass with all of the dirty air. Do you anticipate a similar race to last year where the leader will be hard to pass no matter who it is?
Yes, I certainly do. I believe, even though there's no qualifying, I believe at least the drivers that are starting at least in the top 10 have a strong shot to win. But I believe one thing you're going to have to do is have to have strong quality pit stops all day long. Kyle Larson is on the pole and has pit stop number 1. Gives him an advantage, since he's the first one, out of the pits every time. So I believe tomorrow you're gonna have to find a way to get around Kyle Larson and that number 500 Hendrick Motorsports team. Otherwise, it could be win number 9 for them, and our colleague Joe will increase his lead and pick a winner.
When it comes to Kyle Larson, he's going to be a threat, of course. But the big thing, and I think you brought up a really great point, Adam, the pit stops. We saw Kyle Larson's team during those caution flags, pit stop after pit stop, they got him out up front. If your pit stop is perfect, you're going to work your way towards the front. And when you're towards the front, you can control it. The big thing you got to control as well, too, and Kyle Larson demonstrated this last weekend, the restarts. We anticipated the end of Texas to have restart after restart. Kansas, I don't think it's just going to be at the end. I think we're going to see a lot of restarts throughout the race. We know it's been a pretty tricky track to handle that. So you're going to have perfect restarts. Lane choice is going to be really huge. Once Kyle Larson knew which lane to go in, he was set, and we saw just about everyone select going behind him to push Kyle Larson because they knew if Kyle Larson got out front, they could probably get second place. But then they put them in the spot where the next restart, they'll be outside. The next vehicle in third place will go behind Kyle Larson, inherit second place. So I think the restarts and the pit stops are going to be very important throughout this race, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in Kansas. And whether it's tomorrow or the following day, because I know it looks like weather might be an issue.
Yeah, weather might be an issue this weekend at Kansas Speedway, so definitely be sure to be checking out the weather tomorrow at Kansas because we don't really know what's going to happen. We could get the show in tomorrow, or if it's a washout, we'll be racing on Monday, and I'm sure a lot of American race fans might actually be happy about that because Formula One, NASCAR on at the same time. But you won't have to flip back and forth watching NASCAR and Formula One. You just be able to focus on Formula One Sunday, and then if you're available Monday, check out the NASCAR Cup Series race. And I do think looking at the race at Kansas is probably going to be similar to last year, where you mentioned, Joe, those pit stops and restarts going to be important. So those teams they'll need to make sure they're limiting their mistakes, because you make a mistake at the wrong time very late in the race might cost you a shot at winning. But it really seems like this aero package, 550 horsepower high downforce, it works best in cooler track conditions. And when we saw cooler track conditions in the past at Kansas with this package. The racing's a lot closer, and if we see something like that this time around, could be some really crazy action. There'll be a lot to talk about on Grid Live Wrap Up.
A lot to talk about in Grid Life Wrap Up, but of course, we still have some more to talk about right here on Grid Life Pre-Race, and that is MotoGP. Joshua Birch is with me to discuss MotoGP. We have 3 races remaining, and Quartararo could wrap up the championship tomorrow with his lead. However, that has changed because essentially, even though he has a 52-point lead, Pecco Bagnaia is on the pole. Quartararo is starting back in 15th place. He did not make it into Q2 for the first time this year. Got in Q1 and was stuck in Q1. 15th place because only the top 2 advances, and Pecco top Q1, then goes on to top Q2 to get that pole. Joshua, are you surprised? What did Quartararo or the team get wrong for this to happen?
It all started this morning in free practice 3, Joe, because yesterday was a complete washout with the overall times. Free practice 1 had very heavy rain. Free practice 2 was dry-ish, but we couldn't get any running done on the slick tyre. For free practice 3 in the morning, we had overnight fog, and then we had the rain come down once again. So it was kind of a mix of the 2 sessions we had previously. But looking at the 2, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Fabio Quartararo gets himself out of this mess, because it is his fault. He made the mistake down at turn 8 at Quersa. He locked up. He went straight on as well. He nearly threw himself over the handlebars into the braking zone. He tried to do a slick tyre run until the last point. It didn't work out, and he locked up, went straight on. And he knew immediately he'd lost the opportunity to do a time in free practice 2. He looked down. He kept banging on the side of his handlebars as well. It was definitely his fault, not the team's. Fabio is under immense pressure this weekend, as you said. It is the first time he can wrap up the championship. He just needs to outscore Bagnaia by 3 points. But he qualified 13th on the grid. That's 3rd overall in the session. Didn't get through into qualifying 2. But then, in between the 2 sessions, had his fastest lap cancelled because we had a rider go down on the deck. I think it was Johan Mir who crashed out of the session, brought out the yellow flags, and he went through the sector with double yellow. So that was good night Vienna for his lap time. He now starts the 5th row of the grid in 15th place. Bagnaia starts on pole. If Bagnaia wins tomorrow and Quartararo gets no points, the gap comes down to 27 points with 2 races to go. Easily done, which means for once, this title fight is back on, and it all depends on tomorrow's race.
Yeah, 27 points with 2 races remaining. It is far from over if that happens. Just really interesting how we go from it's wrapped up to game on with just 1 race. And of course, a lot of the big names, as folks saw in the starting grid, are starting towards the back. Saw a good number of riders going down, including Marc Marquez, Mir, Martin, and Moto2 qualifying. It's easier to name who didn't go down. How treacherous is the race going to be tomorrow? Because it doesn't look like the weather conditions are going to change much between today and tomorrow.
Yeah, we're hoping we're going to have a dry race, but we've had overnight rain the past 2 days, so we're predicting we're going to have an overnight rain again. The warm-up sessions tomorrow have been delayed by half an hour to try and let the fog clear we've been having the past couple of weeks here. This is the 2nd time we've visited the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, and the 2nd time we've had the overnight rain. So going into it as well, warm-up now half an hour later. The qualifying times we had today is around about what we're going to see in the race as well, because the track's going to dry out for a dry line to appear. But off that line is going to be a lot of wet patches. So it's going to be the fine lines tomorrow in the race, which makes it ever more exciting to watch Quartararo try and get back up. And speaking that, we're at the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. It's only right to discuss that it was 10 years ago today of that freak accident at the Sepang circuit on the opening lap of the Malaysia Grand Prix, which claimed the life of Marco Simoncelli. And in his honor today as well, the first time we've raced at this track on the anniversary of his passing, and with it being 10 years as well, they've planted a fantastic oak tree down at the Quersa corner. Always in our hearts, Marco Simoncelli.
Always in our hearts. I know just last week was remember Dan Weldon. We all remember that, and I still remember just going through that, and then the following week to lose Marco was just devastating. So we're definitely thinking of family, especially 10 years from now. And of course, MotoGP, we know there's been a lot of safety issues this year. We're hoping to see, of course, more advancement, especially for 2022.
Yeah,
And
it's
with
going to
that,
be a good one. They've raised the minimum age to compete in the Moto3, Moto2, and MotoGP classes. You have to be 18 years old now to race in any of the categories, and hopefully that's going to stop the 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that have been killed this season already in the season. So honestly, it's a great call to increase the age limit and give these guys a bit more time developing their skills.
indeed, and raising that age minimum requirement, we saw NASCAR do that a few years ago. It impacted Kyle Busch actually when he tried to go into trucks. So I'm saying, of course, we know young drivers want to come up, start racing, but there has to be some sort of what's in the best interest of them because they want to go out there and race, but are they really ready to come up and climb the rankings? Speaking of climbing up the rankings, I know we're bringing back Kobe and Adam. Adam, it's time for pick a winner.
That's right, Joe, and we've got an intense battle on our hands and we've got a lot of motorsports action to this weekend. You take a look at the leaderboard. Joe is first. I'm 3 behind. The Kobe's in third. Matt White is fourth. Our colleague Ben Schneider is fifth. Josh is sixth, and then the rest of the and then running out the top 10 is users from TikTok. So let's get started. First up, the W Series. 2 races in the Lone Star State of Austin, Texas. Josh, I'll start with you. Who wins race 1 and race 2? Race 1 today and race 2 tomorrow.
Race 1. Qualifying is just about to start, so I'll go race 1 will be taken the victory by Jamie Chadwick. Race 2 will be won by Alice Powell.
Yeah, Josh, those are my picks as well. I think Jamie Chadwick is going to win today, and Alice Powell is going to win the race tomorrow and take home the 2021 W Series Championship.
Yeah, those are solid picks, but I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to say that Alice Powell wins today, Jamie Chadwick wins tomorrow, and I'm saying Jamie Chadwick wins the W Series Championship.
I think Jamie Chadwick's going to win the championship, but I'm going to go a little bit different there. I'm going to go with Jamie Chadwick doing the full sweep this weekend and just winning today and tomorrow, getting the championship in dominant style.
And now we stay in the Lone Star State and at COTA, and we've got the historic United States Formula One Grand Prix. Josh, I'll start with you. Who is your pick to wear the cowboy hat tomorrow afternoon in Texas?
Danny Ricciardo. On the mix that he's already wearing the hat. No, seriously, it's going to be Lewis Hamilton. It has to be Lewis Hamilton. But to wear the cowboy hat, it's definitely going to be Danny Ricciardo, isn't he? Because he's already been out there, as you said, Kobe, doing the donuts as well. It's actually making me really hungry for some donuts. So I'm going to go in and get some before FP3 kicks underway. It's going to be Lewis Hamilton, I think, taking the victory. Taking the pole, I think it'll be Sergio Perez. Taking the victory is definitely going to be Lewis Hamilton. But anything can happen. We could see another crash between them. If that happens, over there in America, you three might just hear me screaming. Just not even watching me, just listening. You might just hear my voice like a sonic boom across the entire planet.
Yeah, and if Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen collide, since we're in America, would it be acceptable to see those two drivers get out of the car, see some pushing and shoving, Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison style? That would truly be quite a sight for the American Grand Prix if we see a little argy bargy, as Calvin Fitch like to say, and definitely would be one of. It would definitely be one.
Oh my goodness me! Max Verstappen has got out of the car and he is choking Lewis Hamilton with his own radio cord.
79 Daytona 500 all over again.
Yeah, that would be insane if we saw some big drama like that. In my pick, definitely Lewis Hamilton's going to win. He's the most dominant driver over here in the States of the United States Grand Prix. So I'll be shocked if he's certainly not standing on the top step of the podium this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with my colleagues here. For my poll, I'm gonna say that Sergio Checo Perez wins the poll, and obviously, I'm going Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes to win tomorrow in Austin, Texas. Why wouldn't you?
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be unanimous because Lewis Hamilton is so strong here at this track. I feel the team is not going to miss this opportunity. I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton getting the win and leading the championship by either 2 points with the fastest lap, 1 point, or tied if Verstappen gets second and gets the fastest lap.
And now we head across the pond and to check in on MotoGP, and they're racing at the Misano circuit. Marco Simoncelli. Josh, I'll start with you. Who wins tomorrow at Misano?
It's going to be Francesco Bagnaia as well. He's taken pole position as well. He's taken pole now for the 4 races in a row. He needs to win tomorrow. If he doesn't win tomorrow, the championship is done. So there's a lot of pressure on him. But in these conditions, if he gets a great launch, controls the inside line towards turn 1, he can get his head down and concentrate because he's got his best mate behind him, Jack Attack Miller, to keep everybody behind. So yeah, it's going to be Francesco Bagnaia to win again here at San Marino, making my 2 races that I've commentated here completely pointless to watch.
Yes, I also agree with you, Josh. I think Pecco Bagnaia is going to get the job done tomorrow in the MotoGP race.
I'm going to agree with my colleagues. I'm saying Pecco Bagnaia wins the race, and we have another championships decider going down to the last few races of the season.
I swear, this is not usual. After seeing his performance, you can't go with anybody else besides Pecco. Pecco on pole to get it from Q1, Q2, pole. Unless he makes a mistake, I don't see how he's going to lose this race, or we get a dramatic change of conditions, which somebody else towards the front, but the Yamaha, they're out towards the back. It's going to be Pecco getting this one.
And now we crisscross the Atlantic again, and we head to the Sunflower State of Kansas for the latest round of the NASCAR Cup Series. So I'll start with you, Josh. Who wins tomorrow at Kansas Speedway?
If any of you just had an ice cream van, I do apologise. I didn't. It's October, and for some reason, there's an ice cream van outside my commentary box. So yeah, I'll have an ice lolly, please. We could do with it to cool down. I think it's going to be Kyle Larson taking victory. He's my safety net, really, at the moment, isn't he? He's leading the points, or is it, with 8 to go of it as well, and he's good around Kansas as well. I like this track a lot.
Yes, Kyle Larson definitely the safe pick at this point of the season. Well, throughout the season, but with Kyle Larson locked in, I think the other championship competitor is going to lock himself into a championship 4. Then driver to number 11, Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota is going to win. Denny Hamlin winning in Kansas.
I'm going to go with the driver that also drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, and it's a Kyle. I'm saying Kyle Rowdy Busch in the M&M's Toyota. And Joe, we know where you're going.
Do we need to bother?
So take us there one more time, my friend.
Yeah, Kyle Larson, I mean, he's coming off of this win. And if he could get another win in a row, I mean, he's just that dominant. 9 wins. We're going to be talking about him more. But definitely, that's going to be my pick because you just got to look at the grid ranking and you can see who's a dominant driver in the Cup Series.
Have we got sponsorship with their car? Nobody's telling me.
Yeah, it's called. That's a good question, Josh.
I want a slice of this apple pie.
With some vanilla ice cream.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's been quite a dominant season for Kyle Larson. We asked last week, do you think it's possible that Kyle Larson, with just 3 races remaining, can he win 2 out of 3 of those, or even complete the sweep and win the final few races of the season? Could we see Kyle Larson reach 10 wins based on this performance we've seen this season? I think the chances of that happen are extremely likely. So no wonder Joe picks Kyle Larson almost every single week to win one of these NASCAR Cup Series races. And unfortunately, we're out of time for today with W Series qualifying about to begin. Please like and subscribe to Grit Network here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all over social media. We encourage you to visit our Patreon page. Big shout out to Colin, Mark, Michelle, and Robin for your amazing support investing in Grit Network. Check out Pablo's for dog leashes, clothing, accessories for dogs of all sizes. And remember, 10% of your purchase go towards helping homeless, sick, and rescue dogs. A great cause everyone at Grit Network supports. Also, Public.com, the stock market social media home. The link below in referral code will give you $5 to invest as you start your journey on the stock market. Public.com allows you to connect with your friends. You have a great opportunity to make new friends, and you can use for the proper tools to learn how to invest in the stock market. And tomorrow we'll be back on the air 90 minutes after NASCAR and Formula One for a Grid Live wrap-up for Josh Birch, Joe Samniego, Adam Limmeries, and Daniel Zeri from Races, the Girls Behind the Helmet. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. Thank you for watching and enjoy the races.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, Public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on Public.com. Link in video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GridNet for your free $5 to invest. Start investing and networking on Public.com.